Welcome to the Platinum Pinfall. 1, 2, 3. This is the Platinum Pinfall for April Fool's Day. Look at that shirt. April 1st. Yes, somebody sent it for my kid, but I'm going to wear it first. Fuck that. I'm wearing this shit first. This is coming out on April 2nd because, for those of you who know, I work a lot. And I've gotten a promotion of sorts at one of my main job. Well, I've got two jobs, but my main job. And so they have me starting in the mornings because I'm training for the new thing, which is great. But I've been really burning the candle at both ends with, getting full disclosure done and putting out one that I thought I could be proud of with extra video work. And now this whole thing has come up with Sean Ambrose, so I'm planning a big video supplement for full disclosure on Monday. So I'm making arrangements to film a thing, and I'm writing a little script out, and it's nuts. So I guess I was just exhausted, and I'm 50, but I'm one of these dudes who's just like go, 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 and I can just do more, and I can pack more in, and I can work two jobs and all this stuff. And last night I was like, all right, set my alarm. I'll sleep from 6:30 to 8. So like these are the kind of naps that you take when you've got a ridiculous schedule, right? I'm gonna sleep from 6:30 at night until 8, and I didn't set my alarm, and I went out at like 7, and I got up at 3 in the morning. So I got 8 hours of sleep for the first time in months since COVID, like forever. And I feel great. So I got a bunch of stuff done. And now I'm going to knock out these two full disclosures. And Platinum Pinfalls. And then my plan is, and see, all these things catch my attention. Tonight, while watching night one of WrestleMania, because I'll actually get to see it in real time, I'm also going to be working on my first, the wrestling of the week that you can't miss. And I'm going to do a Platinum versus WrestleMania weekend where I'm going to talk about the Hall of Fame, the NXT show, and WrestleMania. Fucking shit. But it's all worth it. And I'm going to get that full disclosure. And I got to record the thing with the kids before I start work tomorrow. Tomorrow I work from 3 till like midnight. So I got to get filming done in the morning. It's nuts, but it's all worth it. Let's just jump into this shit, right? That's Jade Cargill kissing Tay Conti. Jade Cargill to me is the most interesting, one of the most interesting people going around right now. I'm also going to work on this article called The Return of Cool. And I almost had Jade Cargill there, but because Hook is one of the three people, I didn't want to give aid. I wanted to spread it around a little bit, and I wanted it to be mostly about the indies and the scene outside of WWE and AEW. Though it's undeniable that Hook is one of the main reasons for the return of the Cool. But Jade Cargill was almost going to be my female consideration, but I decided to go with somebody else who I thought could use the boost via the article, honestly. Jade Cargill doesn't need my fucking help. She's got Bryan Danielson training her. You got him singing her praises of like, dude, she gets who she is more than I ever did at that age, and she's going to be great. And then she's there WrestleMania weekend, like partying it up with Wale on stage, and he's singing to her and all that shit. I almost had that as our clip, but I decided to, because I'm going to have almost rapping in tomorrow's edition. I thought, like, having another thing with a wrestler on stage is, like, kind of overdoing it. But in any case, Jade Cargill, the ring work continues to improve, but more than that, I think she's grasping what it is to be a star. And AEW is just really good at getting new people over and allowing them to kind of find themselves a little bit. And I think that's the really cool thing. Not to mention the Simon Sermon influence is definitely there. And if you don't know about that, now you know. Second story. Bloop. Speaking of WrestleMania weekend, since that's what we're in, Very Morales making that comeback. He had a really severe injury, a little break, but that's fixed. He's back, and I saw where he's going to be at IWE in May. So I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited to see him again. Really glad that he's back wrestling. I'm really glad that he's a part of WrestleMania week, wrestling for different indie shows. He looks phenomenal. I called Vari Morales years ago, where I said people need to start using this guy, and they started doing it, and I'm really happy for him. I just think it's really great. It's one of those real keep it positive kind of things. Speaking of which, this thing of Triple H talking to the boys, really, really great. Sort of introducing Nick Khan to them. Not that they didn't know that Nick Khan was in charge, but really cementing this thing of like, this guy is really important and you guys need to know. And getting to make the great announcement to them that third-party ways of making money are now open for the boys again. Again, predictably, the WWE, for all their promises of like, we're going to stop you from doing it because we're going to do this thing and we're all going to benefit, they realize that they're in no position to fucking make that happen. So, yes, so the boys can do things like Cameo and stuff like that again, and I think that's really positive. It's really good that, I mean, let's just be honest, the pressure from AEW is forcing WWE to fucking come to grips with some shit that's realistic. And it's better for all involved. Our video clip is one that just cracked me up, of all these self-aggrandizing muscle dudes who are fucking bragging about how great they are, and the people who call them out for it. In any case, this has been the Platinum Pinfall 1, 2, 3.
I'm built different.
Oh, shit.
Welcome to the Platinum Pinfall 1, 2, 3. Welcome to the Platinum Pinfall. This is for April 2nd. It is WrestleMania weekend. I'm excited. I'm going to actually get to see night one of WrestleMania as it happens. Like I said in yesterday's video, I'm going to do a whole thing, Platinum versus WrestleMania weekend. I'm going to debut the weekend wrestling of the stuff that you have to see. That's out of the 9 major shows, television shows that happen. And I'm also going to cover an old school match. I saw this move on Twitter. It was just this, just this little clip of Junkyard Dog in his prime. I mean, the dude had abs. The dude looked great. Coming off the ropes, pow! Hitting Nick Bockwinkel with an elbow that Nick Bockwinkel sold like a motherfucker. And I was like, God damn, this clip is awesome. So I captured the clip to do in my hypnotic wrestling project that hopefully I'm going to start releasing more of soon. And then I was like, and I thought it was Nick Bockwinkel, but then I clicked on the comments to make sure, and it was, and then somebody's like, oh, and here's the match it was from, and I was like, holy shit. 1982, 20-minute long match, so I'm going to cover that as well. I know it's a lot, but I'm feeling really good because I got 8 hours of sleep for the first time in forever in a day. I got to go to work soon, so I got to get this Platinum Pinfall done, but tonight, as I'm watching WrestleMania and just sort of relaxing and enjoying my evening in anticipation of the recording that I got to do tomorrow morning before I go to work in the afternoon, it's a lot, but you know how much I love this channel. You know how much I love doing what I do, so let's just get to it. All 3 of these stories are going to be about the Supercard of Honor show, the Ring of Honor show that Tony Khan and AEW basically control, because I think there's 3 major things to get from this, and I want to emphasize how important that is, because I know the news for the next 2 or 3 days is going to be filled with the stuff I'm going to talk about in full disclosure, of course, but also WrestleMania and all that stuff, and I want to give that stuff its due. But I really want to focus on the Supercard of Honor, because I think that there's really good and really bad news potentially coming out of this, and stuff that is really open-ended and worth thinking about if you're somebody that is into pro wrestling. Let's go to the first thing. Whoop! What the heck is this? This is the results. And it was AEW in a romp. And I know this shouldn't shock me, but it is kind of like, whoa. All the Supercard of Honor matches featuring all elite wrestling talent were won by AEW stars. FTR defeated the Briscoes for the ROH Tag Team Championship, and that match was phenomenal. I watched that match. It was unbelievable. Mercedes Martinez won the Women's Championship over Willow Nightingale, and Wheeler Yuta, who's been getting the push lately on AEW, dethroned Josh Woods for the Pure title. So clearly, Tony Khan was like, we're going to use this to really emphasize AEW. I'm sure there's going to be Ring of Honor stuff as well, but this was definitely a showcase of like, during WrestleMania week, we're going to show up. We're going to show that AEW is a powerhouse. Next story. Samoa Joe, it was announced at the Supercard of Honor, is signed by All Elite Wrestling, which is not a shock. But he is signed with AEW, but he's back in the Ring of Honor part, which I think was not a shock, is definitely an indication of how this thing is going to be run. I think it's going to be Tony Khan booked, but with a lot of influence from people like, let's say, Bryan Danielson, Samoa Joe, perhaps CM Punk, etc., which should be exciting news for Ring of Honor fans, but right now I'm sure they're smarting over the fact that AEW ran roughshod over them. But they did give them that really great FT. I mean, all the matches were very good, and I think that part is sort of reassuring to people for something that was kind of put together at the last moment from all news stories that I had read. But Samoa Joe being there is a big deal. He saved Jonathan Gresham and Lee Moriarty from a beatdown at the hands of Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt. And then the final story coming out of Supercard of Honor, Tully Blanchard has his own stable. And Brian Cage joined it, along with Khan and Toa Leona. So that is really, really cool stuff. Speaking of cool stuff, here's a clip of Omos getting to show a little personality, singing a freaking Jay-Z song on stage during WrestleMania week. I just thought it was really fun. And there's been a lot of fun stuff in wrestling lately, and I am glad to see it. In any case, this has been the Platinum Pinfall 1, 2, 3.
A to the Ocoee.
Welcome to the Platinum Pinfall 1, 2, 3. Welcome to the Platinum Pinfall. 3 quick takes on stories in professional wrestling. It was night 1 of WrestleMania last night. So this is going to be all about that WrestleMania last night. Why not? It's the biggest thing in the pro wrestling industry. And it delivered. I'll just give my general take. Like, I'm surprised at how, for the most part, the match quality when they do these longer matches has gone down. But very few people seem to notice, and that's cool. They did the most successful thing and the most important thing that you can do, which is to get people caught up in the moment. Now, they have a great crowd that definitely helps things, but even the takes that I saw people do, very few people were pointing out the fact that these matches were really sloppy. Both of the women's matches were fucking gaff-filled messes, and that's true on a technical level. But as far as conveying emotion, getting things across, getting reactions at the proper moments, all of that happened. Did I get pulled into it? For the most part, yes. And let's just jump into it. Boop. So there's Stone Cold, and there's a picture that a wrestling person took of their television screen of Stone Cold, and that's why the picture isn't the best quality, but I think it's very indicative of how they rekindled something in fans, which was the obvious intent. And the Stone Cold Kevin Owens thing, and whatever you think about Kevin Owens and the rest of it, it's undeniably a success. I think they were smart to undersell this thing of like, it's not going to be a match. It's just going to be this appearance on a talk show, but we're putting it in a main event position. They did give you all the indications that they were going to go through with a match without saying they were going to go through with a match, because I think for once, this WrestleMania is going to underpromise and overdeliver, which has been the opposite of what they have done for the past 3 years. The past 3 years have been filled with, this is going to be the greatest match of all time. Remember that advertised? This is the greatest WrestleMania of all time. This year, the stupendous thing is a horrible word. I'm not going to pretend it's not. However, promising that this is the most stupendous two-night WrestleMania of all time is not an overpromise. They've only had 3 of them, and it's not going to be hard for this WrestleMania to beat the last 2 years. The last 2 years have been kind of shitty, and I think they've got enough in the tank, especially with what we're going to talk about in my third point, that they're going to be able to do that. And last night, yeah, the first 2 matches were not on paper. I was just like, it's not. But they're delivering instead of following the AEW formula, which they've been doing, which is to open with this big, huge, hot thing. They're just going with like more of an old school, traditional, very like foundational approach. And I think for the WWE, that's a big step, honestly, of like, we're not going to we're going to build this thing. And I think they did that successfully. Culminating with the Stone Cold thing, which I mean, I found myself going, I can't believe this match keeps going. And people didn't even seem to notice that it was Kevin Owens working his ass off and just basically making Stone Cold look good. Now, that was my whole career. It was basically destroying myself and getting as much heel heat as possible and then just bumping around for guys. To the point where if they just take one bump, people went nuts. And everyone was like, Stone Cold took a suplex on the ramp. I'm like, Stone Cold did fucking nothing except walk around and hit Kevin Owens, who did all the work. And they pulled it off, man. And then, you know, everything, every little decision, normally the WWE misses on little decisions. And there were indications last night that they were clueless as usual. When they introduced that guy to sing America the Beautiful, and they introduced him as like a native of Georgia, like that was supposed to make people in Texas go bonkers. And I was like, they clearly don't get Texas. Texas don't give a fuck about some Georgia just because we're both in the South, because we're both red states or some bullshit. Like, what the fuck? But then when it counted, they really did a great job. And that's, I mean, the Stone Cold thing was just one of the many things they did right. And something else they did right with Cody Rhodes. I saw a bunch of weird takes on this. The entrance, undeniably great. Cody Rhodes, who I once called a couple of years ago the smartest guy in wrestling. And I said he was smart because he controls his brand and he controls everything about it. And this deal that I've heard about that he signed with the WWE is obviously true. Are you ready for this? Control the character. Obviously, they're going to present him as he wants to be presented, which was a huge sticking point in the negotiation, but he won. And he's getting between 3 and 5 mil a year. That's more than almost everybody else. When he left WWE, they offered him, when he was Stardust, $500,000 to stay, and he turned it down and bet on himself, as the kids say. And now he's come back and he's wrestling for 6 to 10 times that amount and wrestling less dates. Is this not an unequivocal Roman fucking triumph for Cody? I dare say Cody Rhodes is the fucking biggest triumph of night one when you factor in all of that. And the nature of the match, and Seth Rollins fucking put out for him and he put out for Seth Rollins and they had a fucking good match. And Cody Rhodes went over. Now, people are already saying, oh, but it's gonna, well, that's wrestling. We're gonna see where it's gonna go. But are people gonna fucking deny that that wasn't amazing? That those people weren't absolutely bonkers cuckoo for him? I mean, I saw some shitty takes from people that I know and respect, too, that were just like, who cares about Cody Rhodes? I'm like, apparently everybody in that fucking stadium... Apparently the WWE does, because they fucking backed up a Brinks truck. You know, the WWE, this WrestleMania is a direct reflection of their undeniable acknowledgement of AEW. They are putting out, let's go to the last thing. Boop. By the way, the interview with Cody after, where he was obviously taken with emotion. He's a very complicated guy in the wrestling business. But he was obviously felt redeemed. That's all you can get from that whole thing. And that's fucking wonderful. And the response from the AEW people of like, fucking, this is fucking great. This, the people who are reading this is some kind of shot fired at a war. Maybe the WWE sees it this way of like, aha, we got him. I'm sure AEW, there's no way Cody would have gotten that kind of money or been worth it to them. This is the right move at the right time. I dare say it's a win-win. And a reminder that we just want to see fucking good shit from the WWE. And so this last thing, Bianca Belair is holding up the title. This WrestleMania is going to do something that they haven't done in a long time, except to a smaller extent on the Saudi shows. Because they have to, because the Saudis fucking basically book those shows for themselves. They're like, we're paying you $50 million. You're going to fucking give us what we want, right? This is a fan service WrestleMania. That is crystal clear. I would be stunned if The Rock did not show up tonight and confront Roman Reigns. I would be stunned because they're fucking obviously giving everybody... Look, they obviously had some more complicated issues with like, they're going to do the Becky thing more complicated. Why have Bianca cut her hair? It doesn't make any fucking sense. None of it makes sense, except I think at the last minute they just went, fuck it. Bianca should win, so she's going to win. And we're going to present this as the story that we haven't fucked up, but we fucked it up. But doesn't matter. Bianca wins. And I think they didn't pull the trigger on Charlotte and Ronda because they're surprised that people aren't unabashedly going for Ronda Rousey. And so they're going to hedge their bets on that one. I think this is a fan service WrestleMania. Even the way that I think they've misread the room. Don't get me wrong. I think Logan Paul greatly overperformed than what they were expecting. They should have known. I mean, I knew because the guy's a fucking athlete. And he was an amateur fucking wrestler. I've been watching Logan Paul since his fucking Vine days. Those little 6-second clips. And I was like, this guy would be a fucking great pro wrestler. And he is. And he's with another guy who desperately wanted to be a pro wrestler who did like reality type of shit in The Miz, who I've been watching since the fucking Real World, when he did pro wrestling shit on the Real World and clearly wanted to be a fucking pro wrestler. The only thing I think they misread was Miz dropping Logan after they beat the Mysterios. Though, if they're going to go in a program with those two, I'm all for it. I mean, it was fucking fan service and over-delivering. And hopefully they're encouraged to keep this going. But I don't think they will be. That's the thing about WWE. I don't think they're going to be encouraged to continue to do this kind of shit. But in small pockets, they might. And that's what we can hope for. The video I'm going to conclude with is just a snippet of Cody's entrance, just where he's rising up. Listen to that fucking crowd. And hopefully the WWE does as well. This has been the Platinum Pinfall 1, 2, 3. Welcome to the Platinum Pinfall 1, 2, 3. Welcome to Platinum Pinfall. This is for April 4th, 2022. 3 quick stories about wrestling and a video. Of course, this was night 2 of WrestleMania. Let's just jump into the stories. What is that? That's a picture of a bunch of ICW crew, including Dan and Tank and Ron. And all kinds of great... What the... Is it blurry? That's worse. That's worse. That's better. Shit, sorry. I should delete all that, but I'm not going to. So, ICW, I think this might be a part of a new trend where there was always this clamoring need to get to wherever WrestleMania was to do your shows. Makes sense. IWTV couldn't find a venue close enough, so they didn't do their thing this year like they did in Tampa. And ICW, who was really the main successful act that IWTV had at the Tampa WrestleManias, but even they weren't completely happy with the crowds except for the one with the final New Jack show. So they just ran in New Jersey where they're comfortable, and they succeeded really well. And Southern Fried also did a show where they didn't go to Dallas, and it ended up being okay. So I think this might be the start of a new trend in future WrestleManias. Like I said, I think WrestleMania, the two-night thing is here to stay, and what it's lending towards is the death of the post-WrestleMania Raw being the coolest one of the year. I think crowds just don't have energy for that shit, and I think it's going to hurt the WrestleMania week shows as they adapt to the fact that Saturday night is now owned by the WWE as well, and then Saturday afternoon is going to be NXT. So they're basically taking up that whole weekend. So there's going to be a lot of people who fly in and only do WWE related things, which run from Thursday until Sunday. Well, Monday if you count Raw, which I do. So very interesting. Story number 2, speaking of WWE. So this story was going around that they had dropped marijuana as something that they tested for their wellness policy. It is not true. It is a hoax. But the hoax has far outdistanced the reality. If you can just go on their website and look. And you still get fined $2,500, and then for repeated offenses, blah, 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 blah. But I think it's interesting that I believe it's part of this new approach that the way that you get things changed is to put them out as a fake story. So then pressure goes of like, well, why are you still testing for that shit then until you can get it changed? So I would be curious if this is just somebody that did this on their own, or if it's one of the WWE wrestlers who's being fucking clever. Don't forget where you heard it here first. And then finally, 14 years I've been on Twitter, though I've only used it actively for, I'd say, 3. And really actively for 2. Really, Twitter is toxic. And I think the Kimberly story, I was going to put up screenshots from that, but I find the story, because it's still in progress and I don't know where this fucking thing is going, I don't want to sort of attach myself to it. On April 2nd, people were saying, leave Kimberly and her husband alone. And her husband is Wes Lee of MSK, the NXT Tag Champs, right? Let's stay out of it. Get out of it. They're both okay. That's all Twitter people really need to know. And Kimberly on April 2nd, a couple days ago, was like, yeah, leave us alone. And as long as you guys are happy, it's great. Then she runs a race dressed as Cruella. And then April 3rd, a bunch of people are saying, yeah, they're really great people. Leave them alone. And then on April 4th, she puts up a picture of herself with a swollen lip that she says her husband gave it to her a year before when he was drunk. And she says, I'm finally free. And then on the 5th, I'm filming this on the 4th, but you get it. So, because Nash's or Wesley's tag partner, the wife said he's been staying here, that they haven't been together in a while because she has all kinds of mental problems and has checked herself in to get treatment and all this other stuff. And so she responds by putting up a picture of him doing the Sieg Heil with the Hitler mustache and says, yeah, he and his family make all these anti-LGBTQ statements. So what the fuck is going on? All I know is Twitter can be an incredibly brutal and toxic place, a place where you can reveal things to a lot of people, but a place where people can be easily manipulated as well. And I'm looking at this collection of pictures next to Kimberly's website, and it's her on the 3rd being happy being Cruella in the Disney run. On the 2nd, pictures of her and her husband together and she's happy, and then on the 4th, her with a swollen face, and then on the 5th, here he is as a Nazi. So who knows what... I mean, I'll keep you up on this story as it goes. But we're going to close with this clip of two of the coolest wrestling spots I've ever seen in one sequence. The stuff near the end kind of fades to me, and some of it isn't effective, but that first guy with that fucking assisted springboardy thing into the Hurricane Rana is fucking nuts. And then his, like, around the world fucking tilt-a-whirl thing that he does 3 times until he finally gets the opponent that he wants to do it to. Fucking amazing stuff. In any case, this has been the Platinum Pinfall 1, 2, 3. Welcome to the Platinum Pinfall 1, 2, 3. Welcome to the Platinum Pinfall. It is April 5th. Okay, it's fine. What is with me messing with this camera? I need to stop. Or maybe I just need to light it up a little better in here. I don't know. 3 quick stories about wrestling. Boop! Jackson Riker, formerly known as Gunnar Lale, not to be confused with Gunnar Miller. Really conservative guy. Did the Forgotten Sons gimmick in WWE. Really outspoken Trump supporter. That is what it is. But lately he's been going after Disney and parroting a lot of weird QAnon-y kind of language about child, like child trafficking and exploiting children sexually and all this stuff, and just going after Disney hard. And I don't know, it is what it is. It's kind of sad when this guy gets kind of roped into that. But this is the route that he's going to go. I saw that he does indie shows. I don't imagine he's going to really have that big of a place in the wrestling world. I don't imagine he'll get signed by a major again. Yeah. I guess we'll just have to see. But the fact that he's so vocal about something like Disney, I don't know, it's just not a great look if you're a major promotion who may have to deal with Disney someday or want to bring Jackson Riker, who a lot of wrestlers are not going to want to deal with. Interesting. Boop. William Regal with this really cool thing about how he doesn't use the word mark. It's hard not to love William Regal. He makes it so easy to love him because he says all of the cool things. I'm going to find the quote here. It's here on the picture, but just so you have an easier time reading it, let's take a look. So William Regal, again, this sort of new lease on life of his career in AEW, where he's smacking folks and helping Jon Moxley. It's so great. I've never used the term mark. I hate that term. I think it's a nasty, horrible, derogatory term to call someone who's willing to give you their time. I could not agree more. And that old school disdain for fans by calling them marks. And I hate wrestling fans. We know this in general. But I think that the use of the term mark just to blithely describe a fan is one of those old school wrestling things that needs to die. And William Regal agrees, and I love it. Boop! And then finally, this picture of Davey Richards hooking up with Kevin Owens in the gym during WrestleMania weekend. Davey was there as part of MLW and probably other shows as well. And Kevin Owens, of course, worked a great match with Stone Cold, which he can... that's a career highlight. He did a great job with Stone Cold and got 14 minutes out of the fucking legend. Here's my Davey and Kevin Owens story, which I probably shouldn't tell, but that's part of what's great about being on my Patreon, right? So Davey was Ring of Honor champion, and we talked a lot during this time. I would bring him into PCW all the time when he was Ring of Honor champion and IWGP Junior champion and all this other stuff. He was regarded as pound for pound the best wrestler in the world, whatever that means when you're fake fighting in your underwear, but he was held in high regard. And they wanted him to lose to Kevin Steen at the time. And Davey didn't want to do it. He said that Kevin Steen wasn't in good enough shape, and he didn't think that Davey really took pride in being Ring of Honor champion. He's like, I have no problem losing the title. I have a problem losing it to a guy who I don't think is going to be up for what it takes to be the champ and have the great matches that are required. But then eventually Davey got talked into it, and him and Kevin became friends. And Kevin Steen did live up to that. In fact, I got to see that crazy ladder match they did in the Hammerstein Ballroom. Live, he and Generico, now known as Sami Zayn. So they definitely mended fences, and it's all great and it's all gravy. But it was funny to me to see Davey Richards, who's opened up a wrestling school, by the way, which I think is fantastic, and Kevin Owens together. Super cool. In any case, what's our clip? It's this angry dude ranting about women, and it's funny as shit. Thank you for joining me for the Platinum Pinfall 1, 2, 3 for April 5th. And by the way, I now for IWE have the link to their tickets for May 12th or May 14th. Come buy tickets via the link. They've had a bigger pre-sale than they've ever had. And come see me and say hi.
When are y'all bitches gonna understand that we don't want to be your friend? We want to be friends with their pussy, and that's it. If I wanted a friend, I would buy a fucking dog. I want to fucking fuck you. Bitch, wasn't you just sending me nudes? Don't act like you weren't on that freak shit. Don't give me that fucking emotional bullshit. Oh, I'm not ready for a relationship. I need more time to heal. Well, how about you come heal while you sucking my dick? You fucking mentally unstable bitch. Oh, so you don't like me? Am I not good enough for you? Is it because I'm white? You think I have a small cock? Well, I'm sorry if I don't fit your fucking criteria, you fucking whore! Hey, friend. Bitch, I'm not your fucking friend! If you say that shit to me again, I'ma fucking bug out and shoot this whole shit up! Word of my fucking dead! To any bitch who ever friend zoned me, I got 3 magic words. Suck my dick!
Welcome to the Platinum Pinfall 1, 2, 3. Welcome to the Platinum Pinfall. We're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. This is for April 6th, and if I can get this done before I go to work, all the better. Then I can work on other videos afterwards. I already have the stories ready to go. But that is Chris Jericho. And just to give you perspective, this is how Jericho looked a year ago to the shape that he got in. It's really a remarkable story. People haven't talked about it a lot. Now, he got into this shape before he re-signed his AEW deal, which I think was very smart. Again, he's a very cagey, smart guy. But more than that, I think he was genuinely embarrassed. He had gotten really in a really bad-looking physical shape and got mocked. Remember when they had to move Dynamite to be after an NBA game, and they did all this stuff with Shaq and all this stuff, so they got all this attention, and the overall look on Black Twitter was like, what the hell happened to Chris Jericho? He's so fat and sloppy, and this stuff had been going on for a long time. And Jericho getting back into shape was definitely a big part of his comeback, and I think of sort of restoring his reputation and that kind of thing. So good for him. This is Layla Hirsch, legit Layla Hirsch, and she is Russian, right? She had spent like 8 of her years in Russia. The first 8 of her years. And so she was born in Moscow. And so she was asked about the situation in the Ukraine. And she unequivocally supports Ukraine. And seemed quite upset about the notion that people thought that she would support Russia's side in all of this. But what was noteworthy to me was she was the only one in one of the majors that was Russian or Ukrainian. I have a feeling that is going to change, just like in the mixed martial art world, where huge sections of Eastern Europe are sort of dedicated to mixed martial arts. I have a feeling that more and more people from that side of the world are going to be popping up in pro wrestling groups. But legit Layla Hirsch, luckily, had the proper opinion about this. And then finally, what is this? Now, the buy rates for Supercard of Honor, the Ring of Honor show that happened WrestleMania weekend, and more to the point, now owned by AEW. And this is one of those stories that people will say, like, well, who cares, right? It did over 20,000 pay-per-view buys. Now people go like, well, that ain't shit. That is comparable to what TNA did for most of its run when it was doing pay-per-views, even exceeding sort of the low-end TNA stuff. But here's the perspective that really matters. Ring of Honor pay-per-view buy rates before this were in the low hundreds, like 800 buys typically. Supercard of Honor also went head-to-head with the WWE Hall of Fame and AEW Rampage. But they still did 20,000 buys. So, obviously, a lot of this is going to be, you know, sort of the attention given to it and that kind of thing, because of the recent purchase and stuff. But, I don't know. To me, that feels like good news moving forward. Speaking of which, our video today has got an extended ping pong rallying session that, while it will give you anxiety, is also to me kind of inspirational. In any case, this has been the Platinum Pinfall 1, 2, 3. Have a great day.
Schieß doch mal! Ja, fester! Ich stehe in Deckung.
All right, I need to just do this, so I'm going to do this. Welcome to the Platinum Pinfall 1, 2, 3. Platinum Pinfall, 3 quick stories about pro wrestling and a video to Butte. The video, I picked something really fun based on something that happened at Dynamite last night. And I need to do that because the Kimberly story is now blown up. She released that Nazi picture that her husband took a long time ago, apparently. Apparently the story with it is he was shaving off his mustache, so he shaved it into a Hitler stash and then sent a friend a picture, which got to Kimberly, and Kimberly released it as part of her sort of revenge on him wanting to get a divorce and all of this stuff, and then that is what cost him his job at NXT. I'm going to put up some stuff. So story number 1 about this is Kimberly called out for lying about allegations of abuse against Nash Carter. And this was by the wife of his tag team partner in NXT and Impact, who said that he had been living with them for months because she's abusive. And this might shock some people, but we're going to talk about other parts of this story. So another one, boop. According to Frightful, this has been reinforced by Sean Sapp and others. MSK's Nash Carter was released by the WWE. Comes in the wake of Impact Wrestling's Kimberly's allegations this past Monday that Nash Carter, her husband, physically assaulted her 1 year ago. She tweeted 2 photos showing her with facial injuries and said that Carter split her lip open. She also posted a photo Nash had sent of him doing the Nazi salute with a Hitler-like mustache on. Nash Carter was, but he got fired for the picture, not for the allegations. In fact, it was said that people at NXT had a lot of sympathy for him about the allegations. I mean, just awfully telling, right? And the other part, Meltzer noted that NXT personnel are very sympathetic towards Carter for what has happened. This includes Carter's current girlfriend, Gigi Dolan, Priscilla Kelly, a.k.a., who... Priscilla. What is going on? who tweeted, "This world makes me sick," shortly after news of Nash's WWE departure broke. Yeah. And so Priscilla Kelly dating married Nash, though he had filed divorce papers and apparently had not been with her for months because he'd been staying with his tag partner and the wife because she had... Am I taking a stance on this? I am not. I will just say this. Kimberly has been a handful for a long, long time. What am I looking for? I'm looking for this information sent to me. So not only is Priscilla Kelly, aka Gigi Dolan, one of the Georgia wrestling tie-ins, the other one was at AWE once when they had JT Dunn, who was Kimberly's boyfriend at the time, was a no-show to show because he was afraid of her because she physically abused him. And apparently this is not a new thing. She does this. She's hit other people that she has dated or been married to in the past. This is a really ugly situation. Somebody very smart who deals with people all the time told me she's got a, borderline personality disorder and shows all the signs of it. She wants to get back with him and said that she was back with him and everybody needs to leave them alone on April 2nd. Again, it's so tough because these kind of things make it so hard when abuse allegations and stuff like that are already incredibly tough to prove, even in this day and age, and all the rest of it. And then you got Kimberly doing whatever she's doing. Again, I don't know for sure what's right, what's wrong. All I know is it is a fucked up situation. And I put it all together for you, including some Georgia tie-ins and past evidence of stuff for you, my Patreon viewers. In any case, our video is of Samoa Joe dancing last night. It's fucking awesome. Anyway, this has been the Platinum Pinfall 1, 2, 3. Have a good one. Samoa Joe!
And if you ain't a hoe, get up on my trap house. I've been selling cracks since like the